In a bustling market town where merchants shouted their wares and children played in the streets, there was a girl named Lena. Lena worked at her family's stall, selling handcrafted baskets and vibrant textiles. She was known for her cheerful nature and her ability to weave the most intricate patterns anyone had ever seen. One busy afternoon, as Lena arranged the baskets, she pondered over a question that had been lingering in her mind. Who am I? She thought. She knew she was a daughter, a sister, and a weaver, but she felt there was more to her identity than just these titles. Seeking answers, Lena decided to ask the people she interacted with every day. She started with the fruit vendor next to her stall. Who am I? She inquired. The vendor, a kind old man with a twinkle in his eye, replied, You are the heart of this market, Lena. Your laughter and your baskets bring joy to our days. Not fully satisfied, Lena turned to the tailor who often came to buy textiles for his clothes. Who am I? She asked him. The tailor, always precise in his words, said, You are an artist, Lena. Your hands create beauty that adorns homes and hearts. As the sun began to set, Lena asked the same question to her family. Her father said, You are my hard-working daughter, who keeps our traditions alive. Her mother said, You are the light of our home, always caring for us. Her brother said, You are my clever sister, who can solve any problem. That night, Lena lay in her bed, thinking about all the answers she had received. She realized that each person saw a different aspect of her, based on how she related to them. But deep down, she knew there was a part of her that was just Lena, not defined by her relationships or her work. Determined to find that part of herself, Lena embarked on a journey within. She spent time alone, reflecting on her thoughts and feelings. She wrote poems about the stars, stories about the wind, and songs about the mountains. She discovered her love for words and the power they held. Weeks turned into months, and Lena's journey of self-discovery continued. She learned that she was not just a weaver of baskets, but also a weaver of stories. She was not just a merchant's daughter, but a dreamer with a vision of her own. One day, a traveler came to the market and heard Lena reciting one of her poems. Moved by her words, he asked, Who are you? Lena smiled, her eyes shining with newfound understanding, and said, I am Lena, a weaver of baskets and tales, a daughter of the market, and a dreamer of dreams. But most importantly, I am me, and that is my greatest discovery. From that day on, Lena shared her poems and stories with everyone in the market. She found joy in expressing herself and inspiring others to embark on their own journeys of self-discovery. And whenever someone asked her, Who am I? Lena would simply say, You are you, and that's a beautiful thing to be. Lena's reputation as a storyteller grew with each passing day. People from all over the town and even travelers from distant lands would come to hear her tales. Her stories were not just words. They were windows to the soul, mirrors reflecting the listener's own experiences. One day, a wise woman visited the market. She had heard of Lena's talent and sought her out. I have heard your stories, she said, and I see that you have a rare gift. But tell me, Lena, what is the story that lies within you? The one you have not yet told? Lena was taken aback. She had shared so many stories, but the wise woman was right. There was one story she had kept to herself. It was the story of her own dreams, the visions she saw when she closed her eyes at night, of a world filled with peace and harmony, where every person had a place and purpose. Encouraged by the wise woman's interest, Lena began to weave this inner tale into words. She spoke of a land where the sun shone brightly on fields of golden grain, where rivers sang as they flowed, and where mountains stood guard like ancient protectors. In this land, every person had a gift, a unique talent that contributed to the well-being of all. There was no envy or strife, for each individual was valued for their contribution, no matter how small. And at the heart of this land stood a great tree, its branches reaching out to the sky, a symbol of the interconnectedness of life. As Lena told her story, the people listened, captivated. They saw themselves in her words, their own hopes and dreams reflected back at them. The story was not just Lena's, it was theirs too. The wise woman smiled, her eyes shining with tears. You have found it, she said. The story within you is the story of us all. It is the tale of who we are and who we aspire to be. Lena continued to share her inner story, and with each telling, it grew richer and more detailed. She realized that her journey of self-discovery was not just about finding herself but also about inspiring others to find themselves. Years passed, and Lena became known not just as a weaver and storyteller but as a visionary. Her tales of the harmonious land sparked a movement within the town. People began to work together, recognizing and celebrating each other's talents. The town, once just a marketplace, became a community, a place where everyone could say, I am me, and that is my greatest strength. As the seasons changed, so did the town. Lena's stories had sown seeds of change, and now those seeds were blossoming. The market was no longer just a place of trade but a hub of creativity and collaboration. Lena's influence had reached every corner, inspiring people to share their own stories and talents. Lena, however, felt a stirring within her. The town had grown, and so had she. Her dreams now stretched beyond the familiar streets and faces. She wondered what lay beyond the mountains that cradled her home. Who am I beyond this town? She pondered. What stories await me out there? With the blessings of her family and the support of her friends, Lena decided to venture out into the world. She packed her belongings, took her journal, and set out at dawn. The town gathered to bid her farewell, their faces a mixture of sadness and pride. Lena traveled through forests where the trees whispered secrets of the ages. She crossed rivers that told tales of the lands they traversed. She climbed mountains that showed her the world from a new perspective. Everywhere she went, she listened, she learned, and she shared. In every place she visited, Lena asked the people she met, "Who am I?" The answers she received were as varied as the lands she explored. A healer in a mountain village said, "You are a seeker of truths." A fisherman by the sea said, "You are a bringer of tales." A child in a bustling city said, "You are a friend." Each answer added a piece to the mosaic of Lena's identity. She was all these things and more. Her journey became a quest not just for self-knowledge but for wisdom that connected all people. Years passed, and Lena's travels took her to distant lands, each with its own customs and stories. She became a collector of experiences, a curator of wisdom. Her journal was now filled with the voices of countless people, each one echoing the same underlying truth: that every person is a story, a unique narrative woven into the tapestry of humanity. Lena eventually returned to her town, her appearance changed by the sun and the wind, but her eyes still sparkled with the same curious light. The town welcomed her back with open arms, eager to hear the stories of her adventures. As she shared her tales, Lena realized that her journey had come full circle. "Who am I?" was no longer a question but an affirmation. She was Lena, a daughter of the market, a weaver of baskets and tales, a traveler, a seeker, a friend, and a storyteller. She was a part of a larger story, one that included every person she had met and every place she had been. And so, Lena's story continued, ever evolving, just like the stories she gathered. It was a story without end, for as long as there were people and places, there would be new chapters to add, new answers to the question, "Who am I?" Lena's return to the town was met with celebration. The market square buzzed with excitement as people gathered to hear her latest stories. She stood on the same spot where she had once sold baskets, but now her wares were words, woven together with threads of experience and wonder. As she began to speak, Lena noticed a young girl in the crowd. The girl's eyes sparkled with curiosity, much like Lena's had when she first asked the question, "Who am I?" Lena smiled and decided to dedicate her next tale to this eager listener. Once, Lena began, there was a girl named Alara. She lived in a village nestled between rolling hills and ancient forests. Alara loved to explore, and every day, she would set off on a new adventure. Alara's favorite place was the Whispering Grove, a mystical forest where the trees seemed to murmur secrets to those who listened. Alara would sit under the oldest oak, its gnarled roots cradling her, and she would ask the trees, "Who am I?" The trees would sway, their leaves rustling like ancient parchment. They told Alara that she was a dreamer, a seeker of hidden truths. They said she carried the whispers of the wind in her laughter and the wisdom of the earth in her eyes. But Alara was not satisfied. She wanted more than the forest's cryptic answers. So, she ventured beyond the Whispering Grove. She climbed mountains, crossed rivers, and explored forgotten caves. Everywhere she went, she asked the same question, hoping for clarity. In a bustling city, Alara met a philosopher who sat by the fountain, pondering life's mysteries. "Who am I?" Alara asked. The philosopher smiled and said, "You are a mirror, reflecting the world back to itself. Your questions awaken others' curiosity." Alara continued her journey, meeting artists, scholars, and healers. Each encounter added a brushstroke to her self-portrait. She learned that she was a canvas of experiences, painted with laughter, tears, and the colors of countless sunsets. One day, while watching the sunrise from a cliff, Alara met an old sailor. His eyes held the vastness of the sea. "Who am I?" Alara asked, her voice carried by the salty breeze. The sailor said, "You are a sailor too, navigating the tides of existence. Your heart is your compass." Alara returned to the Whispering Grove, her heart full. She sat under the ancient oak and listened. The trees whispered, "You are all these things: dreamer, seeker, mirror, canvas, sailor. But most importantly, you are Alara. Your name holds the universe within it." And so, Alara embraced her multifaceted identity. She wove her experiences into stories, just as Lena did. The two storytellers met one day, sitting side by side in the market square. Lena shared her adventures, and Alara listened, her eyes wide with wonder. "Who am I?" Alara asked Lena. Lena chuckled. "You are Alara," she said, "a fellow traveler on this ever-unfolding tale. And together, we discover that, who am I, is not a question with a single answer. It is a symphony of voices, a dance of moments, and a celebration of being." And so, Lena and Alara continued to tell stories, their voices blending with the wind, their words echoing through time. For in their tales, they found not just answers but a connection, a thread that wove them into the grand tapestry of existence. And the market square, once a place of trade, became a sanctuary of stories, where people gathered to ask, to listen, and to remember that they too were part of this ever-unfolding tale.